All right, hello everybody. This is your favorite Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Murr-VELL. And today we're going to be looking at Spider-Man comics from... What month are we even? I can't even remember.
I think we're in... That's a good question. Let me check my notes here.
We're
in... no one knows.
February of 1983.
Yes, we are. Yep.
We're going to start with The Amazing Spider-Man number 237. Then we're going to move to Marvel Team-Up 127. And then finish things off with Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man number 75.
That's right. And this week we have two special guests. We have returning guests, G.I.Jolie. G.I.Jolie, say hello, please.
Hello. Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Hello.
All right.
What's up?
Woo! All right, yeah. G.I.Jolie is the producer of the Comic Book Syndicate, and we also have a very special guest this week who we've never had on before. This is our pal from the country with the highest death rate of COVID-19 patients.
Woo-hoo!
This is Ted Wood.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right.
We are going to be number one. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
All right. So, Ted, you tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a comic book artist, correct?
Yes. So I currently live in Camden, New Jersey, which is just outside Philadelphia. And awesome. Let's see, I met all of you when I was doing conventions and such in Michigan because I lived there for 6 years. And so I've been doing a lot of self-publishing, been doing some random freelance jobs and stuff, but I'm just kind of working on my own graphic novel right now, and that is taking forever. And also doing some other projects and stuff, Well, I'm not doing conventions now because we've got this whole quarantine going, so good times. But I teach, normally, I teach a bunch of kids and teens classes. And yeah, just kind of doing the fun stuff of being in the comics world. So not a whole lot to it.
Awesome.
Well,
let's hope there is a comic book world after this is all over.
Oh yeah, I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, we've had you as a guest at our conventions action a few times.
Yeah,
and we've had you do a paint night, and we're looking forward to having you back again as a guest at both of those.
Man.
So.
Yeah, the paint night that I did last year was a lot of fun. It was this Harry Potter themed thing, and actually I did another one for y'all as well. It was the one at that bar, and that was packed houses in both cases. But yeah, planning on doing some more paint nights once we're allowed to leave our homes. So that'll be good.
That'll be great. Yeah. So before we jump in here, really quickly, just tell us, are you a Spidey fan?
My Spider-Man fandom history is not as dynamic or spectacular and amazing as perhaps others. I got into Spider-Man as a kid watching the 90s cartoon where he's blaming himself all the time, and it was great. Loved it. And yeah, I vividly remember seeing the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie in theaters, and that was just the coolest thing ever. I just never seen anything like that before, because my experience with Spider-Man in live action up to that point had been the 70s TV movie, very valiantly effort that they made. Oh
Not
my
great.
God. But that was such a cool experience. So yeah. But yeah, I would definitely consider myself a Spider-Man fan.
Sweet. Now here's the thing. I read a lot of 70s and 80s comics.
Yeah.
And your first comment when we called was that we're in a completely different world now, right? These comics are a lot different from the comics that are made now. And I definitely want to touch on that as we're reviewing each comic.
Yeah.
We'll focus on the differences in the style of the writing and the art. And that'll be a cool perspective, because I read, honestly, majority of Bronze Age comics, so I have probably a different perspective than you. But let's jump. Yeah. So let's jump in now. So first, we're going to start with Amazing Spider-Man number 237. So obviously, Josh and I, we review every month of Spider-Man. So we've been covering Amazing now for
30-something months.
30-something months. And
Yeah.
so this is by the regular writer Roger Stern, but the artist is a fill-in artist, Bob Hall, who Jolie and I met a couple years ago at a convention. He's a really nice guy. He's mostly known for doing Squadron Supreme and Shadow Man for Valiant. The art is not as good as what we're used to with John Romita Jr. because John Romita Jr. is awesome. He's one of the best in the industry, but this is still decent art, and it's inked by Jim Mooney, Frank Giacoia, he's a veteran of the industry. So it's definitely still got that classic Spidey feel. But I'll just really quickly sum up the story. Basically, we have this classic Daredevil villain named the Stilt-Man, who is kind of down on himself because, he's a failure as a supervillain. And so he basically cooks up this scheme to... it's funny because I just read this and I barely remember what happened. But he basically cooks up this scheme to kind of amplify the powers of his stilts, right? But he ends up crossing paths with Spider-Man, and this is in a really cool twist. What happens is he tries to use this gas canister to sort of subdue Spidey, but Spider-Man realizes that Stilt-Man is going to get killed by this laser gun, this sonic disruptor that is kind of an automatic defense of this laboratory. And so Peter Parker risks his life to save Stilt-Man. And because Stilt-Man realizes that, he's like, well, you know what? I could just kill him. No one will see me do it. But he did just try to save me. So he has second thoughts. He carries Spider-Man out to the police and leaves him, and then he takes off. And he's like, well, that's it. We're even. And then that's the end. So very interesting Spider-Man story from Roger Stern. I definitely enjoyed it. Again, it's not quite as good as the regular issues, but I definitely enjoyed it. But Ted, I'd like to hear what your impression was of this issue.
Yeah. So first of all, I think my favorite thing about it is honestly that cover is really super awesome. Like I took a hand lettering class when I was in art school, and we had just looked at all these different ways of doing cool lettering effects and everything in comics, and of course looked at a lot of Will Eisner cool Spirit covers and everything.
Right.
But yeah, any time where the characters on a cover are somehow interacting with the title and the issue number and everything, breaking the fourth wall like that, I always love that. And so that's just really, really cool to me. And it's this super dynamic downward shot, really cool 3D look to it and everything. And yeah, of course, anytime you have oh my gosh, Spider-Man's down for the count, that makes people want to pick up the book, of course. So yeah, I loved this cover. But yeah, so I can definitely see how this is not the normal kind of awesomeness of your standard Spider-Man comics of that period. And I think for me, part of it, what kind of made me kind of this isn't so great, is for the first half of it, it's a lot of flashbacks and just talking and remembering and okay, yeah, it's we're getting a couple of panels of kind of action looking stuff, but it's just catching us up on what in theory a lot of readers already know. But yeah, it's it's pretty fun once the action kind of starts up and it's okay, Spider-Man's on his trail or something like that. I really liked the subway scene, which was really cool. And then yeah, the action in the science lab was a lot of fun. All these cool Spider-Man dodging lasers shots. I feel as an artist myself, one of the pulls for drawing Spider-Man is always his crazy acrobatic poses that he does. Just all the cool ways of bending the body. And I'll actually when I talk about Spectacular, I'll get into that because it gets a little crazy with some of those poses. But yeah, and yeah, it was just I feel like it was just the second half that was the actual story that we all wanted to read of okay, where's the action start, But my brief thoughts.
And what did you think of the resolution of the story? Did you like that?
It was interesting. I like the fact that it's not just another, like, okay, Spider-Man punches the bad guy and takes him to the cops and swings away. Like, it's something different. It's something unexpected. And yeah, we see, like, I think it goes in the theme with Spider-Man in general. It's like, okay, Spider-Man is a vulnerable character. He's a very relatable character. He's someone that, has problems and everything. And so, like, the fact that he gets defeated by, doing the right thing and he's down for the count, that's something that, like, you wouldn't see, like, other heroes do or something like that. And so that was really cool to see, like, something kind of different from your standard superhero, like, clocking out the bad guy and swinging away and then getting the girl and saving the day. So...
All right, so G.I. Jolie, what was your impression of this story?
Do you want my full impression of the story?
Yes.
Do you know what I actually liked? I actually liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked because it felt like it was going to be filler, and it was. But it was kind of nice to, hang out with Stilt-Man for what it's worth.
Right.
Stilt-Man is the strangest villain I've ever had to read about.
A little bit impractical, eh?
Yeah, but also he's just it's like welcome to my pity party for 5 to 6 pages. It was actually kind of nice because he's like, I suck, and you get to read about how much I suck. But that's it. I was actually impressed with the art, I guess. But I mean, we can talk about that later. I mean, I remember you said that you didn't like it very much because it's very much a filler, but I actually liked the art.
I mean, I definitely thought it was good, just not as good as what I'm used to from John Romita Jr. But we can come back to that if you want.
Yeah, I think that the
Josh,
story...
go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like the story, it does feel like a filler because it's not necessarily, like, furthering the plot and, like, the grander scheme of things. But
yeah,
I'm okay with filler if it's a good story, right? Like if something is happening and there's some, good creative moments and some fun characters that we're following, I'm all for filler. And this one for me really worked, especially in the later half. Again, the beginning was very backstory heavy, and I have said this before, and I'm sure I'll say it plenty of times, but the readers aren't stupid. Like even if it's aimed at kids, like kids aren't stupid. They can, like, get context with just a couple of lines. So I don't think we necessarily needed to see all the times that Stilt-Man failed. We could have just had him like, say a line about how he is constantly being defeated by Daredevil and, all the other heroes. But there's one hero that I almost beat before, and that's Spider-Man. And I think that I have a chance to fight him, and then just jump into the story. I think it would give you more time maybe to have maybe feel a little bit more sympathetic. Maybe we can actually see him, like maybe like we could have seen him like get beat up for a couple of seconds in the subway to show he's not really that great of a supervillain. Like he needs his stilts to be a good bad guy. Or, you know what I mean? Like it would add, it would like add to the sympathetic part of him, and we would feel near the end, like it would make sense that he would save Spider-Man because we see that he's also down on his luck and not always the greatest at being a supervillain. So I think that's like the small thing that I would change at the beginning is, get the like pages upon pages of backstory out, and then we could have spent a little bit more time with him to kind of like sympathize with him and get to know him a little bit more, because at the end I really love that twist. Like Spider-Man is always losing battles. Like he wins, but at the same time is losing. Like he might defeat the bad guy, but then his girlfriend will break up with him, or you'll find out she has schizophrenia or whatever it is. So I really like this idea that like he saves somebody, but by doing so, he's left unconscious, and it's up to the villain to save him now. So like I really enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, and I've been watching a lot of episodes of Batman the animated series and also Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And
right,
if this was an episode, there's no way they could spend 8 minutes on flashbacks. Right, they'd have to just jump right into it, which ideally is what they would have done here.
This could have been like something similar to the Mr. Freeze story in the Batman animated series. Like that beforehand, Mr. Freeze was like a joke, like one-off Batman villain. He wasn't big, but then with Batman the animated series, that's when they like gave him that deep backstory with Laura. What's his wife's name? Nora. So like I think that like giving the bad guys a reason to be bad is always fun and great, and like we can sympathize with them. It's fun to have like bad guys that are just mustache twirling villains if that's what the story calls for. But for something like this, I do kind of want to see a little bit more into their life and like why they chose to be a villain. So I think I'd be missing that in this one.
Well, all I can say is, once again, I do recommend this issue. I would read it again. It's a classic 80s Spidey story by Roger Stern. So for that reason, I'm definitely going to recommend it. Ted, would you recommend this and would you read it again?
Yeah, I'd recommend it because I think, like, for me, there's a lot of value in those kind of self-contained single-issue stories, which we just don't have a lot of these days. And I think it would give readers today a very different feel of, like, what they normally get.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. G.I. Jolie, do you recommend this issue?
Absolutely. If you want to know,
I think your mic is muted.
Oh. Well, it's a good thing I have a backup recording happening. So absolutely, I would definitely recommend it. I just wanted to just as someone who's a fan of art, if you enjoy Daniel Klaus at all, the inks give it a very Klaus feel. And
I can see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what? Maybe you're not super into Stilt-Man, maybe you are, I don't know, but come and wallow in this comic and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay, so now we are gonna jump to Marvel Team Up number 126, and Josh, you can take it from here.
Sure. So this issue we actually have 2 stories.
Yes.
And the first one, it's with Damian Hellstorm and Luke Cage. We start off the issue with Damian Hellstorm kind of just showing up in a back alley of New York, and he runs into Luke Cage, and they have a little fight for a couple seconds because, of course, the 2 heroes have to fight for a couple of minutes before they realize that they're both good guys. And then we see that Luke Cage is mourning over his friend's dead body, and his name is Tyrone Gus. He's this homeless person that Luke Cage was kind of an acquaintance with and, chatted with every once in a while. So he's pretty upset that this guy's dead. And then all of a sudden he bursts into dust. He just kind of a flash happens and he turns into dust for some reason. And Luke Cage and Damian decide to team up to figure out what's going on. And they kind of roam the streets and they're, asking people what's going on and trying to do some detective work. And then it ends up leading them to this cult called the Sons of Satanish. And they summon up a portal and this giant Satan looking creature pops through. And it turns out that the leader of this cult is his friend Tyrone Gus, and all of the cult members are also homeless people, and they're upset because they're forgotten about. So they decide to create a devil cult, I guess. Luke Cage and Damian end up fighting them off, and the portal closes. But as Satanish is being dragged back into the portal, he grabs Tyrone and ends up hurting him. So by the end of the comic, they save him and the Satanish is pushed into the portal. But his friend Tyrone is hurt pretty bad, and Luke Cage is kind of back to moping around. That ending made me laugh out loud. But anyway, we'll get to that later. I'll be fine at some point.
Yeah.
So then we have another strange story with Spider-Man and the Hulk. Hulk was being chased by the military again, and Spider-Man comes in and starts kind of fighting the Hulk, kind of like leading him out of the city to calm him down. He ends up calming him down enough where he turns back into Bruce Banner, and he changes quickly back into the Peter Parker persona and goes and helps Bruce Banner, and they're talking for a bit and saying, Spider-Man's kind of helping him out. He gives him his last $5, and he says something like, when I was down on my luck, somebody gave me $5, and I just see this as like passing the torch and kind of like helping the next person doing the right thing. So then after that, Bruce Banner also sees another homeless person, and these like thugs start beating the homeless person up, and Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk and saves him. And as he's walking away, as the Hulk, he gives the homeless man the $5 and continues to walk away.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Let's talk about them separately. How about this? Ted, you want to talk about the Power Man story first?
Yeah, definitely. So this was interesting because admittedly, I'm more of a DC guy, but I still try to know plenty about Marvel. And I'd never heard of this character, Son of Satan, before.
Really?
I always, like when it came, anytime, like the mystic whole side, like Doctor Strange and all that stuff, Ghost Rider of Marvel, like that just never really appealed to me, and so. The only I was thinking about this. I was like, wait, isn't Blackheart and Mephisto? Maybe I'm just not hip with the times or something like that. But
no, I was thinking that too.
But yeah, so this is. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say I can't remember because Mephisto has a son. But I don't know if the son of Satan. I don't know if Satan is Mephisto or if Satan's Satan. But we'll get to that later.
It's always pretty unclear of what's going on with real mythology and stuff like that in the Marvel canon. It's always kind of up in the air. Even Lady Death is supposed to be the Marvel Universe version of the devil. I think kind of as well. I think in some stories kind of symbolizes that, but then in others there's the devil. Everything is so weird with that. I'm not sure if there's a straight answer.
No, and I know that in a lot of cases, sometimes they were just making up characters for a story or something like that, and they were just maybe communication within the departments wasn't exactly great or something. It's stuff like that happens when you're trying to put out comics on a very, very quick basis like they were. But yeah, I was like, okay, cool. So this is a new character, and you got Power Man, who's always fantastic. And I think so one of my favorite things about this came towards the end of this story. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's comics of this era, there's characters talking all the time, and it's just people jabbering on and on and on, and explaining what they're doing while they're doing it, and the panel is them doing it. So it's just there's a little bit of redundancy, and so there's just lots and lots of reading throughout the entire book, and then towards the end, the second to last panel, you've got Luke Cage holding his friend, mourning and grieving and everything, and it's a silent panel, and I love that because a silent panel like that in the midst of this whole story where people are talking, it just strikes like lightning.
Right.
And it's such
Good point.
A powerful emotional a tool for an artist to use, where it's just okay, just take this moment, this character is grieving, and there's this cool ink, dark, art in the background of him, and it's just, and for me, panels, one of the things that I loved that Scott McCloud pointed out is that a panel with no dialogue or text in it, you don't know how long that panel lasts in terms of time, and so there's this timeless feeling of that little moment there, which I think is just really, really fantastic. But But yeah, overall, it's aside from that, it's like this, really fun romp of like, okay, we've got to, solve this mystery and, team up in a classic Marvel team up way, and yeah, it's just super fun. And then there's this really cool moment towards the end that's like, wow, really emotional. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
G.I.Jolie, what'd you think of this story?
These were terrible. These were god awful. It's just like reading Marvel team up. Oh God, I like honestly, I sort of was skimming the Son of Satan and Luke Cage story until you got to the part about the cult. I skimmed so much I missed that they were made up of homeless people. That makes me sad. But yeah. Oh God. I like a good magic story, but this was not like good in the least.
Well, I just got
yeah.
Go ahead. I'll just say quickly that this was written by the same guy who did Defenders, and who is the regular writer of Marvel Team Up. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But did you want to say anything else about the first story, Jolie? Okay, the listeners can't see you shake your head, but I can. Okay, so Josh, what did you think of the Power Man Son of Satan story?
Yeah, that one was definitely not as strong as the other one, but even the Spider-Man Hulk one wasn't fantastic. I think that this one works better than most Marvel team-up stories because I feel like both of these characters belong here. I will say that about it. Like it, even though Luke Cage and Damian don't really like seem to match when you look at them or like talk about like what their powers are, but for some reason I think they work well together here, working together, and I think it's just because the story actually has a reason for the two of them to be together. Where normally Spider-Man just kind of swings into somebody else's story and then, we're kind of along for the ride because of that. This actually feels like these two characters should be here. So I definitely enjoyed that. It didn't push me out of the story at the beginning. So it kind of held my attention throughout. It got really wild there with the homeless cult, huh? Like,
well, yeah, again, it just seems like J.M. DeMatteis just has a bunch of ideas that he just throws into a blender, right?
Right.
And whether or not they actually fit, he makes them fit. He just mushes them all up, and then this is what you get, right? I mean, I enjoyed this story on like a B-level horror level, but beyond that, not great. I definitely wouldn't read it again, that's for sure, but I didn't hate it. It was just bizarre,
Yeah, like, of all of the people that team up, you team up Luke Cage and the Son of Satan. It's, like, weird.
See, I don't mind that. Like, I kind of like the weird team-ups if it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if there's like, putting the two opposite characters together and, like, trying to make that work for a story and, like, giving them a reason to have to work together is pretty fun. I don't think that the reason wasn't super strong, but at least there was a reason. Where normally it's just like, here's Howard the Duck, Spider-Man, why don't you swing on into his story and play with him? Like, that's really what it normally feels like. So I think maybe that's why I'm so okay with this one, because I'm used to Marvel Team Up just kind of like being somebody smashing two action figures together and saying that's a story.
Right. Did you know what? That is exactly what it feels like. It feels like a kid playing with like whatever dolls they have.
Right.
And like honestly, it was boring for me to have to read Spider-Man and the Hulk. Now that we're, fleshing this one out, I would rather read Son of Satan and Luke Cage than Spider-Man and the Hulk as a team up. Okay.
Well, we might as well jump to that one.
Yeah,
then. Ted,
sure.
What did you think of... So we should also point out, this is a reprint. So not only is this issue a fill-in, not only does it not have a full Spidey story, but this Hulk and Spider-Man story is reprinted from a newspaper insert.
Like a newspaper thing, yeah.
Right.
I've got it right here. Yeah, it's Special Newspaper Sunday Supplement, whatever that means. So... Yeah, but so yeah, like the Spider-Man Hulk story is kind of interesting. So I guess like for me, the art was what kind of interested me the most. It's the artist is, I'm gonna butcher this. It's Tomoyuki Takanaka, who I am not familiar with their artwork, but it was what was interesting to me is, and I've seen this in other artists in comics, is like there's the super dynamic action shots that are like the cool pictures to draw of Hulk and Spider-Man, of like Hulk like throwing a car or, you know, tearing, you know, road apart or something like that, and then cool pictures of Spider-Man where he's like swinging or kicking or, you know, having a spider sense activated or something like that. But then there's all those other panels you have to draw of Peter Parker talking to Bruce Banner, or Bruce Banner talking to the homeless guy, that like artists don't get as excited to draw, and so those panels aren't, I think, as well done, and so yeah, that's kind of a common thing I feel like I've seen in a lot of superhero artists, in all ends of the, like, in all tiers of the, you know, echelons of comic creators, where it's just like, yeah, it's really fun to draw Spider-Man fighting the Hulk, but drawing Bruce Banner feeling down on himself in a warehouse, that's not as exciting to draw, but it's like, well, I gotta do this. So but yeah, like I feel like, yeah, this one was kind of an interesting fun little story of like paying it forward and everything. It wasn't terribly fantastic, but it was also like, what is it, like 10 pages or something like that, so
right.
You can only do so much in 10 pages, and I mean, it's one thing that like Hulk's pants like stay completely fine, but the fact that the $5 stayed completely fine in his, you know, growing 10 times his size is pretty impressive, I would say. I never thought that Hulk could carry things in his pockets, but it was, so I learned that, you know.
That is a historical, like, consistency throughout men's fashion, is that your trouser pants have always had the best pockets. So
heck yeah.
So G.I. Jolie, what'd you think of this story?
I don't know. I just think it's really strange that, like, they frame this pay it forward story as an obligation. What an obligation to pass a dirty $5 around. Yeah. Like, it's really strange. It's so weird that this is the crux of the plot, because there, like, time passes. Peter Parker gives Bruce Banner the $5, and he goes on his way, and days gather into weeks into months, and spring melts into a sultry summer. Like, almost a full year passes by, and Bruce Banner has been able to control his, like, inner Hulk. He's still got that $5 in his, like, purple pants. Like, no one thinks that's weird. He's also moved to a completely different city. It's a little bit weird. It's a little strange. And he finds himself in the same sort of predicament. I don't know.
Well, you think... I'm also going to point out quickly, the story is by Jim Shooter, who's the editor-in-chief at Marvel, and he was very, very particular about how he thought comics should be written. So I actually really liked the story, so I wasn't surprised how it all wrapped up together, and I really did like the art. But Josh, I want to know what you thought of this.
The art is really great. It's very different from what we normally get with Marvel Comics. I mean, even down to like how the faces are drawn, like especially Peter Parker. Like, it has more of like a manga feel to it. Like in the on page original 3, like the top right panel, like it almost looks like a face that you would see in like a Speed Racer type of comic,
I can see that.
Right?
Yep.
So like it definitely had a nice, like, refreshing feel to read this. When it seems like it's very similar, like, week to week with the Spider-Man comics. I will say that I really did enjoy the art. This story, I thought, again, like, because it was such a short story, I think it was fine. I think that I wasn't bothered a whole lot by the premise as much as Jolie. I think, like, I kind of liked the idea of, like, passing it on, and like I didn't feel like it was too ham-fisted because they didn't really have time to like really like shove it in your face.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And well, the thing is I also think that if you're gonna put a Spider-Man story in a Sunday, comic that I'm assuming tens of millions of people are gonna read, tons of millions of people are gonna read, it's probably better to have a story like this than the Son of Satan and Power Man story, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like, what the hell? What is a kid gonna get from that story, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. So I did, for that reason, I definitely like this story. So I'd recommend this one for sure. Ted, would you recommend this story?
So, yeah, I would recommend the Spider-Man Hulk one just because of the art and just the really fun Spider-Man versus Hulk nature of it, and I'd recommend the Power Man Son of Satan purely for readers to learn about who the Son of Satan is, because I didn't know.
Yeah. G.I.Jolie, would you recommend this?
Sure. Sure.
Why not?
All right. Woo! All right, Josh, what do you think of the story?
Yeah,
recommended?
I don't think I would have recommended the Son of Satan one necessarily, but this one, I really did like the art, and I think I'd definitely show it to somebody to kind of see the range of what Marvel Comics could be. I will also say I enjoyed a Hulk story that wasn't the Hulk being a dumb caveman.
Right.
Like seeing the more
Good
human
point.
side of him, both as Bruce Banner, and then even later on when he does rage, like to show that even the Hulk has like emotional thoughts and can kind of like recall things, and like he doesn't just smash because there's a guy there. He like stops himself, he hands him the dollar and walks away as the Hulk. Like I also really like that. We didn't have Hulk sitting in on a family's dinner or anything in a cabin.
Yeah. Or serving coffee.
Yeah. So I think I'd recommend that one.
Awesome. Okay, so now we are going to wrap up with Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And Ted, you can tell us what this one is about.
Yeah. So this one was it's a double-sized issue. So lots of story, lots of art to go through. But we pick up learning some Latin because the title is Fere Nature. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's wild beasts in Latin. But yeah, so Spider-Man is discovering that, oh my god, Black Cat is alive. I don't know what happened in the previous issue, but yeah, seems like pretty reasonable to be happy about that. Oh yeah, well they do go into like what happened because yet another flashback, but yeah, so like the premise is that Doc Ock and the Owl are having this like growing gang war on the streets of New York, and Spider-Man's trying to stop it and everything, and Black Cat has this MacGuffin, which is the like the at first we don't really know what it is, but it's like something that Doc Ock really wants, and she stole it from Kingpin, which is pretty gutsy for anybody to do. But Spider-Man's like, yeah, heck yeah, I'll help you. I'll, team up with you because you're hot. And they go to her hotel room, and they're totally going to do it until Doc Ock bursts in because he had been holding her captive. And I guess there was some sort of, like, cat and octopus relationship going on there. But... yeah, okay, so he's a angry ex-boyfriend that is wanting her back and wanting his thing that she stole from Kingpin. So Spider-Man and Doc Ock get in a fight in this snazzy hotel room, and it's pretty crazy. Lots of cool stuff of Spider-Man and Black Cat fighting him off. And then Doc Ock, he gets the activator thing, and so Spider-Man is chasing him around and loses him or something like that. So then he's got to go to Kingpin to find out what it is, So busts up some Kingpin thugs. Kingpin's like, yeah, Doc Ock is crazy. He wants to blow up New York with that activator switch that is for the bomb that Owl has. And so Kingpin is like legit scared, which was kind of an interesting thing to read, because Kingpin is, never scared of anything, but he's like, yeah, I'm getting out of here because the city's gonna blow up and I won't make money. So but yeah, so Spider-Man is, of course, questioning like what should he do, what's right, because should I, Black Cat is this criminal, but I have such strong feelings for her and stuff. And then we get to Owl's lair, nest place, and Doc Ock and his 100 goons or whatever burst in to they just start blasting the place up, and there's this really super amazing splash page of Doc Ock with Black Cat in tow and the activator switch bursting in, and just 100 Owl goons and Octopus goons fighting each other on the ground, and it is just a gorgeous splash page. And Spider-Man comes in because he's got to join the fight too, so everybody's, of course, attacking him. And Spider-Man so Doc Ock and Owl are fighting. Spider-Man's trying to stop them, get the activator switch, and save Black Cat. Black Cat's trying to get free, and I mean, it's just lots of stuff going on. It's just classic Spider-Man stuff. And then, so stuff changes hands. Black Cat is helping out, and eventually Doc Ock defeats Owl, and yeah, so like Spider-Man is just trying to take on Doc Ock, and it's Doc Ock is like proving in this book that he's like, there's a reason why he's one of Spider-Man's main villains. Like he is really going toe to toe with him and Black Cat, and eventually what's really kind of cool is Spider-Man, in just this pure rage, friggin' like rips his tentacle metal arms off of him, and there's this like holy crap moment, like, wow, it's getting intense here, because Doc Ock is feeling real pain with that, so he just like passes out, and it's weird. There's this weird shot of like the tentacles like wiggling by themselves, so that's like super creepy. But yeah, so Spider-Man, he rescues Black Cat. She's okay. He saves Manhattan, all that stuff. But man, it was a pretty cool story. Just like kind of your a perfect example of like, this is, if you were to introduce anybody to like kind of that 80s era Spider-Man, this is a great example of it, because it's just lots of villains, lots of characters, Spider-Man like always like trying to catch up to like what the bad guys are doing, and just great action, and yeah, so I will say there is, well, I said that there was like that one splash page that was just absolutely gorgeous. What is it? Page 29 has this big panel of Spider-Man beating up a bunch of thugs and dodging laser bolts and everything. And like I said earlier, so like as an artist, like drawing Spider-Man is tons of fun because he's always got these crazy poses. But I think I don't remember who the artist was on this, but the artist went a little too far with this pose, because oh my gosh, like Spider-Man's leg is like not attached to his body and twisting in a weird way. It is so weird. So yeah, like I mean,
so yeah. Well, no, I was just gonna say breakdowns are by Al Milgrom, who's notoriously a bad artist, but the inks are by Jim Mooney, who is one of my favorites. And I do, yeah, some of the layouts are rough, but I just think Jim Mooney gives it such a nice polish, especially with the women. Like the way he draws Black Cat is so subtle, so good. So yeah, I really like the art in this issue. So overall, you were a fan of the art then?
Yeah. Like there's a lot of really great panels, and that's, I mean, it's definitely a good testament to what, like what an inker does when you're working with breakdowns, which are supposed to be like pretty loose, and so I've definitely heard the term embellisher as well for something like that. And so it's like, yeah, there's a lot of really cool panels in this of Black Cat especially, like at the very beginning when like Spider-Man and her kiss. I really loved that it was this 3-panel moment instead of just like a quick like, they kiss or big splash page. This is like 3 separate panels to illustrate the time between each moment. And I mean, just like it's one of those things where it's like the action in it is really amazing because you've got, what is it, like 30-something pages to fill, and a lot of it is Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock, but there's never like anything, nothing's ever repeated. It's never the same types of poses, never the same types of attacks. It's all new and all different all the time, and that's really impressive for just in any regular issue, but like a double-sized issue would be even more of a challenge. So the art really impressed me with this, definitely, except for that one panel.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really love a lot of the way the panels were set up. Maybe not necessarily the layout inside of them, but like the shape of things and like the timing, like you were saying with the kiss. I wrote down that what I loved about it too is we see so many panels of them like embracing in that kiss, and they're so close, and like we really get to like live in that moment. And then the next page, the next panel, they're like Spider-Man is like pushing her away. Like it's just you can feel that like snap reaction of like living in the moment, and then all of a sudden being like pulled right out of it. So I really love the juxtaposition between those like few panels and then the next one on the next page. It's really great. And then there even like some of the flashback stuff. Normally flashbacks are really boring, and there's a lot of them in this issue. But I think that the panel layout at least made it somewhat interesting. Like when Spider-Man starts recalling what like his side of the story, we have like a full page of like almost his face, and then there's panels over to the right on top of his face. So it's like kind of like without having like the bubbles coming out of his head to show you that's what he's thinking. It kind of has that feel. And then like on the next page we have a close-up of Black Cat's eyes, and then it jumps into her POV of what happened in the backstory. So like it's
I
just,
loved that.
Yeah,
I loved that.
There's some really great stuff that they use to kind of show the flashback side of things. That I thought was clever, and it made me interesting. Like even though I had already read all of these comics and knew this backstory, it kept me interested, and I wasn't like slogging through the backstory. So I surprisingly didn't mind it this time.
G.I. Jolie, what did you think of this issue?
I didn't think that the art was like too terrible. There are definitely some tests of human anatomy going on. Like I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble with the way that these comics, like I'm beginning to like understand what it is about Spider-Man that everyone loves so dearly, but the treatment of women in these comics in the 80s is really like she's just like Black Cat. Clearly we're getting rid of Deborah just so we could get to Black Cat, and like she's just treated as a slutty sex bomb the moment she hits paper. And like, I mean, let's see, what is it, digital page, I think it's 28, where we're like all but staring, if it weren't for the thin layers of her like rendered clothing, we'd be staring into her bowels. Like why would you draw somebody like that? I don't understand. And like honestly, it feels like we rushed Spider-Man out of his relationship to Deborah to get to here with like and maybe I'm a little bit angry too that like this is a character that I haven't read a lot about and could potentially be interested in, but for the entire span of all of the action, she's knocked out. And she's just placed on a high ledge like a doll. so that the men can fight.
Good point.
Yeah.
So that the men can fight for 8 pages. And like, as much as you guys were like, this is great, the action's great, I was like, this is taking forever. What the hell is going on? This is stupid.
Yeah.
And then she finally wakes up. But she's bested because Doc Ock's got 1 billion arms. So, and suddenly she's not the person she was before, like jumping around and being cat-like and being kind of like stealthy, ninja-y, and I don't know. Like, she got out of other situations before in order to get the detonator to Peter. But now, suddenly, when all 4 of them are in like a fight to the death over these things, she's just useless.
That's kind of like when Dazzler was scared of a spider, so I think Peter Parker had to kill the spider for her or something.
Oh boy, like
yeah.
this woman probably sees like more bullshit than these dudes do on the daily, but like including misogyny, but we'll just leave her out of it. Like,
Right.
What a waste.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it would have been so much better if she was much more like a part of the story, especially in that climactic battle scene, where if she was, you know, taking an active role, because she's obviously proved again and again that Black Cat can do that. I think, like, personally, like, I don't know, like, as a young boy reading comics, like, this would have been, like, I didn't read this issue when I was a kid, so, like, this would have been one of my first, you know, exposures to, like, a sexual character that's like, yeah, no, Spider-Man, you and I, we're going to sleep together type thing. And so in that aspect, I thought that, like, that was kind of cool that, but since I didn't read the previous issue, I didn't really even know about the, what's her name, Deborah or something like that. So,
Deborah Whitman,
yeah.
No one's she's still a mystery to all of us.
Okay. But yeah, so, like, I kind of I like it when a character like Black Cat can be both, like, seductive and action and, like, going toe to toe with, Doc Ock or something like that. I think that would have been much more interesting. So I definitely agree with you on that one, Jolie.
Yeah, especially since, like, we see her get captured at the beginning, and then we also get a backstory of how she was captured before by Doc Ock, and then when she's captured this time, she's just knocked out, and then even when she comes to, she gets, like, thrown on the ground, and Spider-Man still comes in to save her. So, like, I'm all for characters having weaknesses and not always winning and not always losing, but this is not the way to do it. Like, if she were to have been the one that ends up saving Spider-Man at the end of the issue and, like, ripping off Doc Ock's arms, I think that would have been a lot stronger, because we could have seen, like, the two sides of it. Like, when she's down, he comes to the rescue, and when he's down, she comes to the rescue, and that's why their dynamic works so well together. But we don't see that at all. Like, we just see Spider-Man coming in and saving the girl, which sucks, because I do want to know more about her and see her in action. So
yeah, exactly. Because it's like, as of now, I don't even know what her superpower is. She could be strong enough. She could be strong enough to rip Doc Ock's arms off, but unfortunately, we only know from what we've read that she has 2 abilities: the ability to look sexy, and the second ability to pun about pussy all the time. That's it. That's all we know about her. And then, like, wait, her third ability, she clearly, like, is horny. Like, stop.
yeah.
And what an image that would have been for, like, Doc Ock has captured her and had her, like, in his tentacles, and then she's the one that tears them off. That would have been a really cool, like, kind of women's lib moment.
Because even if she's not, like, if she doesn't have the super strength as Spider-Man, she has, like, claws and stuff, right? So, like, maybe having that aspect, like, Spider-Man hasn't been able to rip off Doc Ock's arms before, but she was able to, like, dig her nails in and, like, rip them to shreds. Like, that's You know, like, again, the two of them
or
working
get
together.
a weapon or some machinery and just hack them off or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like...
She could just claw his eyes out like an actual cat.
Right.
Yes,
that's
go
the
to the
thing is
theme. Yeah.
This issue was 41 pages, but in my opinion, there was a lot of filler. Like, there's a lot of fighting at the end, and I know someone commented that nothing repeated, but at the same time, there could have been more story, right?
Right.
They could have used the last half of the book maybe to flesh out Black Cat more.
Yeah, to me too, that the fighting didn't always work for me because I really need to know what alternate dimension this museum is in, because
I hated that. I
hate it. What is the ceiling? What, like... I don't understand what's happening. I don't really get where they are. Like, I guess it's kind of the rooftop, but these beams also, like, come all the way to the ground as well. Like, is this a Salvador Dali painting? What is happening? Right. Like, it's so...
Architecture by Frank Gehry.
It's so
that's
weird.
The thing is, like, when you've already got Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus and Black Cat, you want to ground it, right, in something that looks real. So just putting it in this bizarre environment just makes it feel more like just mindless kind of action, right?
And
like, it's not grounded at all.
I believe in the previous issue, Spider-Man and Doc Ock and the Owl are in this museum fighting, right? And they show the Hayden Planetarium sign in the background, so we know this is a real place. So then in this issue, to have this like weird like dimensional like part of the museum that makes zero sense, it like completely pulls me out of it. Like, I really that really bothers me that it's just like, I guess it's just to get away with not having to like think about the layout and where they are in space, and I think that just feels lazy to me. Again, like, I know it was last issue, but comparing it to last issue, we see the real like, we see this museum as a real place. We know where this is, right? So
right.
I wonder if it was also a time issue, because since it was a double-sized issue, I wonder if they just had to like churn out more art, and just had to like blaze through backgrounds and stuff, which is definitely not uncommon. So yeah, that could have been it too.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they're fighting it. Let's just go back to the fact that they're fighting in a planetarium. They have to sort of plot out what's going to happen between four characters. This is the perfect place for the Owl to fight, but he's rendered useless. Because Doc Ock is like, wait a second, we're in the dark. This sucks. I can't see in the dark. But, you know, Pussycat, maybe you can, like a real kitty, see in the dark. But no, that's false. The Owl can see in the dark, and he should totally be owning the situation, but like, he's taken out relatively quickly.
This is also his place.
Yeah.
Like,
it's his gang's hideout.
Home court territory.
And he gets owned.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, so here's the thing. Overall, I actually think this might have been my favorite issue of the month. Mostly because of the art, but I did think the story was good. It obviously wasn't perfect, but it still felt more like a classic Spider-Man story to me. So yeah, I definitely would read it again. I'd recommend it. Ted, what about you?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it definitely just feels like a great example of Spider-Man, like, you know, of that era, and so I definitely recommend it for that. And just, if you want just truly mindless, you know, Spider-Man action, it's a good book for that, definitely. And I mean, some of the art is really, like, all of our comments aside, I think the art is a lot to learn from. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. G.I.Jolie, what do you think?
Like, for all the complaints that I have, yeah, I guess this is a little better thought out. I wanted them to do better by Black Cat. I don't care if a character just wants to have sex. Just write it better. Like, I'm here to read that comic too, but just like, give me some more story, please.
Josh.
Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everybody that like the art for the most part is really fun. The panel layout is I think great. There's some really creative stuff in here. Honestly, I think that this story suffers from being the double-sized I think that
right.
there's a lot of things that are just kind of filler, and like a lot of things probably could have just been cut out, and we could have like jumped right into the story, and it might have helped with like some of the storytelling and problems that we have with it. But overall, I would recommend it. It's not my favorite, I think, of this week. I think I still liked Amazing better, but yeah, still I recommend. So you can find us over at the Comic Book Syndicate, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. So Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube there. And then on Twitter, we have a new Twitter account. Let me pull that up real quick because I have Comic Syndicate memorized. I always forget what the new one is. It's at HCT Spidercast.
There you go.
On Twitter. We want to know what you guys think about the issues that we're talking about and then the podcast itself. So please leave us a review or comment, and we'd love to keep that conversation going.
Excellent. All right. So once again, we want to thank Ted Woods and G.I.Jolie for joining us. We're definitely going to have you guys back on again.
Awesome.
So, yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much.
More fun to come.
You're welcome.
Yep. And so, until next Monday, this has been Here Comes the Spider Cast.